This happened back in middle school when I was in 6th grade. I used to walk to and from school every day. I only lived a few blocks from school, and the neighborhood was a safe neighborhood, with low crime rates, no drug addicts or anything like that. I had walked the same path to school every single day since the school year, and I haven't had any problems. One day I was coming home from school, and I saw this guy standing in the middle of the road. He wasn't doing anything. He didn't look scary or creepy. He just looked like a regular, boring, everyday person. He was wearing blue jeans and a black NASCAR shirt and a baseball cap. He looked clean and didn't seem like he was on drugs or drunk, so I thought nothing of it. As I passed him, he looked up at me and smiled. I smiled back just to be friendly. I kept walking, and when I started to have anxiety and felt weird, so I turned around and he was gone. I don't know where he went. I made it home just fine, and I sat down to go do my homework. I had my phone sitting on my desk in front of me. As I was doing my homework, I got a friend request on Facebook, and it was from the guy from earlier. I was a little creeped out by now, but I ignored it and thought, what the hell, just another Facebook friend that I will either ignore or that will ignore me. I accepted the request. 5 minutes later, I got a message. I want you. I was creeped out at this point. This guy was probably like 26 years old, and I'm obviously under 18. I mean, I'm a tiny girl, about 4 foot 3 inches in height, 109 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes, etc. He had to have known that I was underage. I replied to his message. I'm only 12 years old. About 3 minutes later, I get another message from him. I still want to show you a wonderful time. I'd been feeling depressed lately and haven't really felt like there was anyone there for me. I didn't have very many friends, and he seemed really sweet. And some of the popular girls at school were into older guys. And I thought that if they had seen me with my older, mature boyfriend, that they'd think I was cool, and I could become one of the popular girls. So I replied back to his message, asked him how old he was. He said that he was 17 years old. I told him that I know that he's not 17. He then told me that he's 22. This seemed a little more believable, so I replied, "What's up? Why did you send me a friend request?" A few minutes go by, a few hours, and nothing. I was starting to think that I may have done something wrong, and I kind of just gave up and went on with the rest of my day. I ate dinner and talked to my family, watched Family Guy and took a shower, and then went to bed. When I woke up in the morning, I had a message from the guy. "Hey, sorry for the late reply. I would like to do something later." It being Friday night, and I was supposed to go spend the night with my friends at her house. I figured that my friend and I could sneak out and go hang out with this guy. I asked the guy his name, and he said that his name was John. "Okay, thank you. My friend and I can meet you later in the trail area I used to walk to school every morning. If this was okay with you," I said. "No, your friend isn't invited. I want it to only be you and I." I talked to my friend, and she was cool with it. So I told John that I would meet him out there around 10 p.m. after my friend Kira's parents have gone to bed. Kira and I planned a cute outfit, and I did my makeup and all of that stuff. I really wish I would have known what I was getting myself into. Both my friend and I were too naive to see anything wrong with a 12-year-old meeting up with a 20-something-year-old grown man at 10 p.m. I was completely and utterly aware of the concept of pedophiles, or anything like that. I arrived out at the spot to meet John. I didn't see him anywhere. I called softly for John, and then John comes up from my side, says hello. We talk for a little bit, and then John says that his car is just over there, and that we should go to a motel, and then we can be more comfortable. Being a little girl and not understanding the serious danger that this posed, I agreed to go with John to the motel. When we get to the motel, we entered our room. John locks the door and tells me how beautiful I am, and how happy he is that we are friends, and how he had a special gift that he wanted to give me. I asked him what the gift was. He just smiled and said, "Relax, in due time." We sat and talked, and everything just seemed normal. Then John stood up and went to the bathroom, closed the door, and then opened the door with just a towel around his waist, and asked me to join him. I was so nervous and shy at this point, so I just kind of stood there and looked shyly at the ground. John then starts to lift up my shirt and tells me that everything is fine and that he isn't going to hurt me. I take off my pants, and we are both nude. We are just about to step into the shower when suddenly the door is kicked in, and there are police officers standing in the front of the door with guns out, and John is arrested and taken to jail. I'm taken to the police station for questioning. They ask me if I was hurt, if he did anything to me. They did a rape test on me. I wasn't raped by John. But now that I think about it, that's what John was planning on doing. Apparently when John and I arrived at the hotel, and John was paying for the motel, one of the other guests in the other room was watching from the curtain, and they called the police and told them that they had seen John bring another little girl up here, and when they left, and the little girl never came back. Now there was another girl, and the neighbor believed that the first girl may have been victimized, and that he was going to victimize me as well. The police explained the dangers of the situation that I was in, and all the horrible things that have happened to me. John was convicted of kidnapping, for me, and then they also linked him to 2 other cases of a 10-year-old that was raped a month ago, and a 7th grader that was raped 2 weeks ago, and I was about to be his next victim. John was given a 50-year sentence in prison. Little information on who John was. John was a middle school teacher from another state. He had traveled from state to state every vacation and would try to pick up little girls and have sex with them. He had done this for years and had gotten away with more than 13, and the police would never track him because he was smart and knew how to cover up his tracks. Innocent girls and their parents sought justice for years, and the police were unable to find him. He had become too confident in his abilities, that he was brazen, and thought that the other guests would just think that I was his daughter and nothing more. While John was in prison, he was shanked and beaten and left in the shower to die. He ended up being transferred to the prison hospital and was stitched up. John started writing me letters from prison, saying that he wasn't a bad guy and that everything that they were saying was a lie, and that I should just trust him. I believed in John. He somehow was able to get me to believe that he wasn't a child molester. In one of the letters that John wrote me, it said, "Dear Martha, I am innocent, and I never hurt those girls. I have never hurt anyone in my life. I'm not a rapist or a weirdo that only likes little girls. Normally I wouldn't go for a girl like you, so young. I didn't choose you because you were young like this corrupt system is trying to say that I did. I chose you because you are amazing. Age isn't important when it comes to love. I would love you the same if you were much older. Please believe me. Love, John." My father found the letter and drove out to the prison to raise hell. My father demanded to know why the fuck they were allowing John to send letters to his daughter, and that he wants answers. My father threatened to sue the prison. The prison took steps and tried to prevent John from sending letters to me. A few weeks go by, and then John starts calling the house, trying to talk to me. My father sued the prison for John being able to contact me, one of his victims, and John was transferred to a different prison, but the letters just continued. As time went on, the letters became more and more bizarre and downright disgusting and terrifying. My father would read them and put them in a box. I later snuck into my father's room and found the box of letters. There were more than 50 letters from John. Some were love letters. Then John started talking about murdering my father, how he was going to torture me, and he would make my pain and suffering absolutely terrible, and how he will get what he wants. And when he was going to get out of prison, that he was coming for me, and he was going to rape me and beat me senselessly, and I was going to be his slave for a very long time. Sure enough, about 3 months later, John had escaped prison, and my father and I had moved. John came looking for me. Then he got a burner phone, and somehow my phone number. Started calling me and threatening me, saying that he was going to kill my father, and he was also going to snatch up my friend, that we were going to be his slaves, and that he was going to chain us up like dogs and beat us, and that he was going to invite his friends over, and they were going to help us grow up. I would block every phone number he called me from, and every week or so he would call from another phone. I went to the phone store to get my number changed. He somehow found out my new number. One morning my father picked up my phone and waited for John to message me. My father pretended to be me. He told John that I was home alone, and that no one would be back for a while, and that I was sorry that he went to prison, that I loved him and wanted him to come to the house and have his way with me. John fell for it. John arrived outside of the house. My dad texted him and told him the door was unlocked. John opened up the door and called out for me. As John was looking around, my father put a gun to the back of John's head and shot John in the back of the skull. The police arrived, and the stupid-ass bastards tried to charge my father with murder. The jury found my father not guilty, and my father has received letters from the parents of John's other victims and letters addressed to me, praying for me and wishing me the best. So parents, please teach your kids about safety and strangers. My parents are great parents, and they slipped up not teaching me about the dangers of walking alone and not to trust people that I don't know. We know everyone in this town, and it was a safe neighborhood. There was no perverts in this town. My father and mother still feel bad to this day for thinking we were safe enough. No matter where we live, always pay attention to your surroundings. I was almost raped in a motel room by a guy who was a fucking middle school teacher from another state. This guy also coached a little soccer and baseball. The letters from John had stopped. My story was taken and written about me by someone online on a blog, and that blog about me blames me and says that John was a good wholesome man, and that I was a succubus little whore, and that I should burn in hell. The blog said that I tempted John, and he fell victim to the temptation of the devil's whore. I started receiving messages from other girls online from around the United States telling me that I was a lying whore, and that I made it up. I got death threats from multiple accounts, and even started having random pictures of guys' penises sent to me. This went on for months. I had a mental breakdown, and had to be Baker acted for cutting myself. I finally moved and got my name changed, and the letters and everything stopped. I don't understand how the hell people can be so disgusting and mean. I was a victim, and these people were telling me that I wasn't a victim, and that I tempted him. I never tempted him. I barely knew anything about sex back then, and wouldn't even understand how to seduce a man. Hell, I'm 20 years old now, and still get awkward looks from men when I try to be seductive. I hope that these people get some help, because they have to be a special kind of fucked up and crazy to blame the victim for why John went to prison. John even had fans. Some of them were his male students from the school that he worked at. 3 of John's students were arrested for publishing John's recorded assaults. The boys were charged with distribution of child pornography. Some of John's other students started emailing me and writing me on social media sites and threatening to kill me, rape me, and kill my family, kill my friends, kidnap me, stuff like that. The FBI had to get involved in order to try and put an end to the harassment, slander, and bullying from people online. I just started college, and I've been approached by women's rights groups that have been offered to help me to put an end to all of the harassment. I've been approached by more militant, man-hating feminists that I want to take up the mantle of feminism and become a voice for women with no voice. This is a hard one, because while I believe and understand the message, I disagree with a lot of the things that the feminist groups say about men. They believe that all men are rapists, and that men don't love women, and any man that says he does is a liar, and is only saying it to make women slaves. They believe marriage between a man and a woman is slavery, because they think that the system favors men. I haven't spoken out about my ordeal, and I don't hate men. I don't think all men are disgusting pigs that just want to beat and rape women. I have met some sweet and caring men, tough and gentlemen, aggressive but harmless men. I've met men that are violent towards other men, yet they would never harm a woman or a child. I understand the approach of some of these groups that they are trying to take, and the message that they are trying to spread, but also some of their messages make other women not to want to be associated with them, and makes men resent them and hate them in return. I'm trying to educate these violent, hateful women about the error in their logic, and in return they have bombed my office, and have even busted out my windows in my car. I continue to work with several groups that deal with special victims cases and domestic violence cases. Some of the women from the angry group of feminists have read my book and changed most of the beliefs that make no sense. But the other women aren't buying my message and think that I am another woman brainwashed by the system that hates women. These women are something else. I'm lucky that I don't have anything happen to me in the motel room. But some girls and women aren't so lucky. Some never make it out alive. I believe that law enforcement and our justice system does it all, and does all that it can for special victims. But I also think that we could do so much more, such as getting rid of entertainment that enables bad behavior, and also entertainment that normalizes rape, such as many porn sites and the porn industry, making millions off of fictionalized incest and rape. For those who watch those videos, they could become inspired to also commit it, or it could poison the minds of young boys who sneak porn when their parents aren't looking. The porn industry makes a niche for just about anything that you can think of, no matter how disgusting it may be. And yet the porn industry takes none of the blame for anything, even when they're found to be responsible. I am working with some White House members to change some of the laws regarding pornography and trying to educate people on why certain types of niches shouldn't be explored or allowed to be broadcasted because they are damaging to the mind. I don't believe that porn itself is degrading to women, but I do feel that fictionalized rape fantasy videos can cause serious problems for young men under the age of 18 who watch these videos. Many of these sites allow anyone at any time to access the website and don't even ask for age verification. So, John, you tried to ruin my life. My father served you justice and put an end to you. Your supporters have harassed me for years, and I'm still strong. I've pissed off other women's rights groups because they feel that my views are misinformed and a step backwards for women's rights. John, in a sick way, I want to thank you for inspiring me to become the person that I am today. I've helped so many people and met so many lovely people. I continue to dedicate myself to fighting for the things that I feel are necessary, and I will never stop until people like you get the help that they need, and the world stops blaming the victims of these crimes.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos, and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.